If a heavy metal album cover doubled as the opening scene to a film, it would have to be Ruben Galindo Jr.'s Ladrones, Tumbas. Or it's called Grave Robbers. Why am I even trying to say Spanish good? Grave Robbers, wherein a satanic monk is caught up trying to spawn the Antichrist and as payment for his crimes gets a fucking axe to the chest. Unfortunately for several persons involved, a group of grave robbers awaken the monk in the modern day of 1980s Mexico by pulling the axe out like the world's worst sword in the stone. Of course, he goes on a murderous rampage, which entangles the daughter of a local sheriff and results in a sizable body count. This movie is fucking sick.
Te advertí que no hicieras eso. Presiento que algo muy malo puede pasar.
Rebe, por favor. Déjate de tontería.
Fucking psychics, am I right, fellas? Grave Robbers follows a few different individuals. There's a group of, grave robbers, and basically, in Latin culture, things are a little bit more old-fashioned, especially when it comes to burying the dead, and oftentimes, dead folks are buried with belongings that are often quite valuable, and so you have grave robbers. And it's interesting because these are pretty young grave robbers, or young and sexy grave robbers, which is not what you would think of with that sort of thing. And then you also have the daughter of a local sheriff, and the sheriff himself with his sidekick. And then in the group of grave robbers, you also have a woman who is, I guess, psychic. Galindo Jr.'s film is really a fairly straightforward Mexican slasher flick with a gothic twist. You get a whole bunch of victims who range from utterly reprehensible sacks of shit to thoroughly likable. You get a solid little priest subplot that gives us some additional supernatural mumbo-jumbo and an old sheriff with an Uzi. Fun for the whole family.
Muy bien.
Once it gets going, this sucker just chugs along with deaths and supernatural madness until the very end. Now, I am not all that well tuned in to Mexican horror movies. It's not that I haven't seen Mexican horror movies. Obviously, like The Devil's Backbone, that sort of thing, I'm well aware of. But when it comes to like the less well-known Mexican horror, it's not really my bag. Not that I don't like it. It's just, it's not something that I'm well acquainted with. It is one of my many blind spots. And if this is any indication, I've been missing out on some great shit because Ruben Galindo Jr. is a fucking solid director. He did two other horror movies in this period. This is the last of the three. The most notable for most people is a little flick called Don't Panic, which I have not seen yet, but everything I've seen from it looks fucking dope. I'm really hoping that As Remembered it is another one of Vinegar Syndrome's releases this year because hot damn, I cannot wait for the next package to arrive with his other film, and then hopefully Don't Panic to arrive later in the year. That would be so excellent. Like, I'm really jazzed about this filmmaker. Grave Robbers itself has several just straight up oh fuck moments, and what really makes these stand out is that they're a mix of straightforward badass slasher kills and more trippy supernatural sequences. For every, axe death or like head being ripped off, you also get floating knives and hands coming out of guts and just weird shit that just piles on that what the fuck factor that really gets my goat, while also being pretty easy to follow. This isn't your Italian horror kind of weird where you're just like, what the fuck is happening? It's all very straightforward, very well put together. Galindo Jr. really gets across the story. He doesn't make it overly complicated. He doesn't purposefully confuse the audience. It's all there in plain black and white for you to see, in color. It's just a fucking good, like, I don't really have much I can say because I don't want to spoil things for you. It's dripping with atmosphere. There's shitloads of smoke and shadow, which when paired with the Latin American setting and mostly nighttime photography, just ooze creepiness that's hard to replicate. Obviously, I haven't gotten to Spellcaster yet. This could change, but right now, I'm pretty sure this is easily the best film of the group, just based on my memory of Spellcaster, and having watched the other two films from this lineup. Ladrones de Tumbas, aka Grave Robbers, is fucking gold. It's one of my new favorites in the Vinegar Syndrome collection. I am so pumped for more from Ruben Galindo Jr. I really want to do a video on this movie that's like spoilery and like really digging into it, because I loved this. This is so much fun. And, you know, there's elements of comedy. There's tons of violent gore. There's legitimately creepy scenes. Like, it's just a beautiful mix of stuff. All the actors are great. You get a lot of solid. There's this one girl who just is a great screamer, total scream queen material. The asshole leader of the grave robbers is pitch perfect as a total prick. Like, I have nothing bad to say about this, except that it ended and it never got a franchise. Because if there's one movie that I've seen in the past, I don't know, week that really needed a franchise, it was this. Like, I would have loved to see a Grave Robbers series where you just have this crazed demonic monk coming back again and again. Dude looks like Maniac Cop, and he is great. He looks like demonic Santo. He is rocking it, and I am so mad there's not more of these, because it is excellent. I did 2 chef's kisses in one video. How good is that? As far as the packaging, we kind of already went through this, but open it up, and I love the alternate artwork on here. So basically, this guy, the guy who plays the sheriff, he's well known was well known, I don't know if he's still well known, in Mexico for playing these action roles, a lot of westerns, stuff like that. And so they tried to sell this movie as an action flick, and it is not. Like, I mean, there's a lot of action, but it's horror action, you know. This is not the movie at all, but I appreciate the hustle, guys. I really appreciate the hustle. As far as special features, first off, as noted here, it is newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm original negative. This is, so far, also the best looking film for me of the bunch. They've all been good. I think I failed to mention in the previous 2, you know, more about like the negative and stuff. Killing Birds is a perfectly fine transfer. I wouldn't call it a great transfer, but it is perfectly fine. But they're also, I mean, they were working with some pretty gnarly material. So, you know, when you consider all the innate issues with the film, that one looks really good. And then Memorial Valley Massacre probably is, if you were being totally objective, the best scan of the bunch. It seems to have the best looking materials to use. But I mean, this looks great as well. There's no bad. It's Vinegar Syndrome. You rarely ever get a bad scan, and if it is bad at all, it's really just the materials. It's not the transfer itself, because they're fucking professionals and they know what they're doing. So as far as extras, we get a commentary with The Hysteria Continues, which is entertaining as always. Justin Kurzweil really is the driving force behind it. That's always the same. The other guys are great too, but he's the one who's really like giving us all them sweet details, really diving into the history. And the others feel like they're more along for the ride. There's a lot of Mexican horror history. There's info on Ruben Galindo Jr.'s career, observations on the film itself, of course. It's a really nice commentary. I highly recommend it. I kind of skimmed through a bit, as I do often when I'm making the reviews. But I will definitely be going back through and just listening to it front to back, because really fun guys to listen to for a really fun movie. And then there's a 19-minute interview with Ruben Galindo Jr. himself, and he speaks great English. So that's awesome for people like me who like to kind of listen to these on one monitor while working on the other. Lots of cultural context, inspirations, how I learned to do the makeup effects, production issues, and of course, my personal favorite, the lighting and film stock.
Kodak had released a new film that was more sensitive to light, higher ASA, and we were testing these brand new films.
Oh, you filthy little bitch. You keep talking dirty. Oh. Anyway, as previously mentioned, I cannot wait to check out the other films from Ruben Galindo Jr. If this is any indication, then his work in horror is truly must-watch stuff for fans of the genre. Highly, highly recommend this movie, which I'm going to place the slipcover back on, because that's more like it. This is the movie you're watching, and it is metal as hell. Check it out. Highly recommended. Can't say it enough. Check me out on Patreon and all that junk. Buy some merch, and until next time, go watch a fucking movie. Make it this one.